Hey, it's Maximo and welcome to Maximo's Travels. In this video, we're at the historic Pearl Harbour historic site. We'll be exploring the last battleship the USA ever launched, the USS Missouri. We'll also explore the Pearl Harbour Aviation Museum and going up to the old control tower for stunning views of the harbour and Ford Island. Join me. A definite highlight of our stay in Hawaii was visiting Pearl Harbour. We decided to take an Uber there and back. The total cost of 2 Uber trips was around $50 US. Whilst it would have been a lot cheaper to use public transport, we did have pre-purchased timed tickets to the Pearl Harbour Aviation Museum and just wanted to make sure that we were there well before the allotted time. The trip to Pearl Harbour was around about 10 miles and just over 25 minutes from our hotel. We pre-purchased our tickets and I'll leave a link in the description where you can do so. We only wanted to spend about half the day here, so we decided to skip the Submarine Museum as well as the USS Arizona Memorial. Our first stop was the USS Missouri Battleship. To get there, we rode on the shuttle bus over the bridge and onto Ford Island. The shuttle buses are frequent and come along every 10 minutes or so. The trip to the Missouri is about 2.5 miles and takes 10 minutes. The shuttle buses are complimentary. The USS Missouri is absolutely huge. It's 270 metres long or 887 feet long and was the last battleship commissioned by the United States. The ship was built in 1944 and saw action in World War II, and the Japanese surrendered on her deck to end World War II. The ship also saw action in the Korean War as well as the Persian Gulf. It was decommissioned in 1992, and from her decks you get an excellent view of the USS Arizona. The USS Arizona was sunk by the Japanese on the 7th of December 1941. We spent over an hour wandering around the USS Missouri. The first part of our tour was by a volunteer who provided expert commentary about the history of the ship. The second part of the tour was self-guided and we were able to wander through the decks and mess halls and some of the engineering sections of the ship by ourselves. We were even able to go up to the bridge. I was particularly impressed by the 3 banks of the 16-inch guns. They were absolutely massive. When in service, she carried over 1,800 enlisted men and officers on board. next stop was the Pearl Harbour Aviation Museum. This is only a short shuttle stop away, and importantly in the next direction that the bus was heading. The tickets that we purchased gave us general admission to the USS Missouri as well as the Aviation Museum. Our time ticket was for the Ford Island Control Tower. This attraction had only been open for a couple of months, and because of the confined space and limited space available, there are only a certain number of tickets available per day. If you want to visit the control tower, you must pre-book well in advance. And speaking of tickets, this was a pretty expensive place to come. Admission for the USS Missouri Battleship was $34.99 US per person. For the Aviation Museum, it cost $25.99 per person for general admission. And for the control tower tour, it was $19.99 US per person. This made a grand total of the three attractions of 264 Australian dollars or 173 US dollars. Quite expensive. And also part of the reason why we gave the Submarine Museum as well as the USS Arizona Memorial a miss. These would have been at an additional charge. We waited on the ground floor until it was our turn to catch the elevator up to the top of the control tower. There was a really good display outlining the history of the control tower and the airport at Ford Island. A small 4-person elevator took us most of the way up, but the final 2 flights were stairs, so if you're mobility impaired, this probably isn't the attraction for you. But once up there, the control tower provided commanding views of Ford Island, the old runway, lots of planes parked on the apron, as well as the rest of Pearl Harbour. Because Pearl Harbour is still an active military base, there were certain areas that we couldn't film. What we could film was spectacular. You can see the USS Missouri in the distance. Beyond that, the memorial for USS Arizona. We were guided up there by volunteers, and their knowledge of the history of the place was amazing.
And on this flat plane area to my left here, EVA, Army Airfield. Then we bomb those 3 airfields and then converge on the Pearl Harbor to focus in on the ships that were anchored here over the plane from the ground. 1 hour later, that carried task force people launched a second wave, 167 planes, and their targets would have been 2 installations on the leeward side of the island, Kaneohe Naval Air Station in Kailua, Dulles Army Airport Field in Guatemala. We bombed straight those installations, and you would have seen that second wave of planes fly over the whole Cessna Mountain Range that borders Honolulu. The bulk of them would fly around that and then over the water past Waikiki and Honolulu. Some would veer off and bomb and straight pick up on Airport Base, which is right next to the Pearl Harbor, past these trees here with the big hangers. Then they would converge on Pearl Harbor, and the objective of the second wave would be to hit any ships that were missing the first wave or any targets of opportunity that they could identify.
I was amazed at a couple of things about this tour. One was how close to the edge, and quite a rickety edge one could get. And secondly, because it was a windy day, how much the tower actually swayed in the wind. It was swaying quite a few inches in each direction. The videos didn't really do this place justice. I was able to take absolutely fantastic photos with my telephoto lens on my camera. Spectacular images. Could even take some images of old decommissioned aircraft carriers just sitting there, as well as planes on the tarmac. We spent about 3/4 of an hour in the control tower, and after that went into the Aviation Museum. We had a bite to eat and something to drink, and then started touring around the museum proper. There were so many World War II planes in immaculate condition in the main part of the museum, and so many later period jets parked outside. We continued on to Hangar 79. We're a little bit disappointed because it was closed and undergoing major renovation. I can only presume that some of the planes that were kept in here were on display in the baking heat outside. We started slowly walking back to the bus shuttle, past many different jets and helicopters from different vintages and different wars. Our final stop was the Pearl Harbour Interpretive Centre. They had a lot of displays and information about the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbour in 1941 and some of the history of Pearl Harbour and the men that served there. We spent nearly 5 hours there and we thought that was enough given the heat and humidity. If you wanted to see the Arizona Memorial, you do need to reserve your tickets well in advance. But even with reserved tickets, the lines are quite long and you do need to wait to crowd into a ferry to take you out to the memorial. You also need to at least allow an hour and a half to see the USS Arizona Memorial. We had a fantastic time at this very solemn site. If you're in Honolulu, I would strongly recommend you paying a visit to Pearl Harbour at least for half a day, as we did. I do hope you liked this video. If so, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notify bell so you'll never miss another upcoming video. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying me a coffee or smashing that super thanks button. Until next time, you take care and bye now.